Do you have to grind your starts whenever you're downhill welding? It's really not a very simple answer. It really depends on you and what you are doing in the weld itself. The problem with not grinding is that the metal is elevated, and that can cause you to trap slag whenever you're starting in that same position. This is why a lot of welders do grind that start whenever they're going to be starting on the opposite side. Some welders just crank it up and start right over. If you're on mainline, for example, sometimes you don't have time to be grinding your starts. All you have to do is crank it up. Personally, me, I do grind my starts only on my fill, and especially when I'm rolling it out. Whenever you're rolling it out, you'll notice that you'll carry a lot of metal. And whenever the pipe goes all the way around and you get to that same place, there is potential for you to leave trash. So I always grind a ramp onto the metal itself so I can tie in nice and smooth. This boils down to what you feel comfortable with. Some guys will have their helpers just crank the heat up and tie into it with no problem. A lot of time it also depends on what code you are using. If you were doing B31.3 severe, for example, it's probably best for you to grind your start so that way you don't trap any slash. 1104 has a lot more leniency. So sometimes you think that you did all right, but it's actually the code that let the trash slip by. It all boils down to what you feel comfortable with. Me, for example, I never grind my starts whenever I'm going to be capping. And a lot of guys always grind their starts, not only because they make it look a little bit better, but because they feel like they'll trap slag if they don't do that little groove or that ramp whenever they're starting out. In my opinion, whenever the pipe is already flush, all you have to do is start on one side and finish that one side. And when you're going to go to the other side, make sure you clean all that trash off. And the key to this is to just scratch right before you are going to start, maybe about an inch down, and then put that metal into that side and look at what the metal is doing. A lot of guys struggle with looking at the spark instead of the metal. Try to cover everything that you left behind and then start moving forward slowly. If you're a beginner, everything I'm telling you is what works for me. And you have to understand that with welding, whatever works for me might not work for you. So that's why it's very important for you to watch several welders and ask their perspective, because they might have an insight that might work for you. They might have a method that might be good enough for you, and that's what you have to stick with. The more that you watch and the more that you practice, the better you're gonna get at it. As I always say, welding is just a numbers game. You have to keep practicing and find a method that works best for you. And if you're in your beginning stages, if you land a job, it is always better to play it safe than sorry. Don't try to compete with the guy that's been doing it for 10 years and he has his tricks up his sleeve. If you have to use your grinder, use your grinder. There's no shame in that. Everybody uses it. It's better for them to make fun of you, but you not get a repair, than for you to try to keep up with people that have been doing it longer than you and you get fired for trying something that you've never done before. Do you grind your starts whenever you're downhill welding? Let me know in the comments. And for all the social media quality control, this is only for educational purposes. I went ahead and asked for the VT already from a buddy of mine, so don't worry about it. Thank you for watching, guys.